I don't really like risk for risk's sake or anything. And I do think that a lot of things are very risky with a low chance of success. But if you want to try to come up with an innovative breakthrough, that's going to be how it is. Anything which is significantly innovative is going to come with a significant risk of failure. But if you've got to take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome. If the outcome is exciting enough, then taking a big risk is worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's really how I approach it. But then once executing down a path, I actually do my absolute best to reduce risk. Or to improve another way of saying it, to improve the probability of success, because when you try to do something that is very, very risky, that you have to spend a lot of effort trying to reduce that risk as you embark down that path. I mean, when I started SpaceX, I thought the odds of success were very low. I thought we'd most likely fail, but I thought, well, we should give it a try nonetheless.
The heart of entrepreneurship in some ways is about risk-taking, but I think that many people misperceive what good entrepreneurs do. Good entrepreneurs don't like risk. They seek to reduce risk. So they are, starting a company is already risky, and then you systematically eliminate risk step by step in those early days until you can get a company. You need a lot of, believe me, you need a lot of luck in all endeavors in life. And certainly Amazon has had, planetary alignment of the highest order. We're, lots of luck in our history. But you also need to systematically try to identify risks. And then as the company gets bigger and more robust, you can start taking risks again. But in those early days, a lot of it is about, okay, we have a good idea. How do we reduce risk?
In a world that's changing so quickly, the biggest risk you can take is not taking any risk. And I really think that that's true, right? I mean, a lot of people, I think that, whenever it comes to, whenever you get yourself into a position where you have to make some big shift in direction or do something, there are always people are going to point to the downside risks of that decision, and locally they're maybe right? I mean, for any given decision that you're going to make, there's upside and downside. But in aggregate, if you are stagnant and you don't make those changes, then I think you're guaranteed to fail, right? And not catch up. So to some degree, I think it's really right that over time the biggest risk that you can take is to not take any risks.
When I started my business in 1995, it was very difficult. I had an idea. I invited 24 of my friends in my apartment because that year I went to Seattle, my first trip to the USA. In Seattle, I discovered internet. And I think this thing in the future may change the world.
Tell me about the encounter with the internet when you first saw it.
Yeah, I went to the Seattle, and a friend of mine, he had a small office with like 4 or 5 computers. I never touched computer in my life before because computer was so expensive to me and so complicated. But my friend said, this is internet. Just to type in whatever word you want to type. I said, no, too expensive. I don't know which one to do. Even now, I don't know how a computer works. So he said, Jack, it's not a bomb, just to type whatever. So the first word I typed in was beer. B-E-R, beer. I don't drink. I don't know why I typed beer. I found American beer, German beer, Japanese beer, no China. So I typed the word China. There's no information about China. So I say, what if we can make some China information on the internet? Let people know about China. So that was the idea. So I came back to China and say, I want to resign from my school.
You were a teacher?
I was a teacher. I've been teaching in the university for 6 years. So I said, I want to do it. I invite 24 of my friends to my apartment. After 2 hours of explaining what I'm going to do, internet, and 23 of them say, forget it. He said, this thing never worked because there's no such thing called internet in the world. You know nothing about a computer, so why you want to do this? And only one people, he said, Jack, if you want to try it, just to try it. But if there's something wrong, just come back. And after a whole night thinking, I say, I still want to do it. Because most of the people, they have a fancy ideas in the evening, but in the day, when they wake up in the evening or in the morning, they go back to do the same job. We have to do something different. So from there, I started my business borrowing $2,000 from my relatives and friends. So that was my trip. I call myself like a blind man riding on the back of blind tigers. And those people who are expert of riding horses, they all fall down, and I'm still surviving.
What was I going to lose? I mean, literally, I had a Fiat X19 that had a hole in the floorboard. I mean, you could tell I was living the high life, right? I mean, and I was putting in oil every 60 miles and, you know, working as a bartender at night. What did I have to lose? Right. You know, and so it wasn't like, oh, man, you know, I could lose all this. And so, yeah. And so it was just like, you just go for it. Right. Now, later on, after I'd had some success and we got back and we started AudioNet, which turned into broadcast.com, the math was different. The equations, you know, the calculus was different. It was like, okay, I'm investing a lot of my saved money into this whole idea of netcasting, right? Or internet broadcasting in early 1995 when people didn't even know what the internet was. That was all risk because I literally was putting everything that I had on the line for something. People just laughed at me and said, wait, audio over the internet. You know you can turn on the radio. You know you can turn on the TV. Yeah, but you don't get it. No, that's just dumb, all right? You know, and so being able to overcome all that resistance, because remember back then, A, you had to have a PC. B, you had to know what a modem was and install it. C, you had to know what the internet was, and then you had to download a TCP/IP client that worked over a modem and then connected to a browser that you probably didn't even know what it was or how to download it. And we had to take it on faith that all this was going to grow.
Right. Now, part of the thing that drives computer science forward is doing risky things, having a long-term time horizon. And when Microsoft was a small company, we benefited from the fact that AT&T and Xerox and other companies had made investments in research, that they'd reached out and worked with universities on a broad basis. So we felt very lucky that as we got to a certain level of success, we could start our own research group and have that research group be in partnership with top universities all over the world doing advanced programs, things that range from the work on speech recognition all the way up to quantum computing. We have a fairly serious program that has a high risk of failure, which makes it fun and interesting on quantum computing. And even in the best case, it's probably a decade away before that makes a difference. But that's the kind of thing that when it works can have incredibly high payoff.